Yo guys, it's your favorite blader Ray here, and in this video, myself and my teammate Solical traveled to South London to blade at PinoyBladers's second event, with the top prize being an air fryer. Yes, you heard that right, an air fryer. The pricing for Beyblade is starting to get grandeur by the week, and everyone was locked in for this one. Meta everywhere. Nobody was passing up the opportunity to bring back home an air fryer, and I don't blame them. Shout out to PinoyBladers for hosting another great event. As you'll see in this video, it was a very difficult tournament. Had to pull out all the stops to try and get results, and yeah, also I'm a bit under the weather, so apologies if I sound a bit low energy, but yeah, giving it my best because I really want you guys to see this and enjoy it. If you guys do enjoy this video, leave a like and subscribe down below. But other than that, let's get right into it. So, first match actually was against FRYER, who you guys will definitely know. I was actually surprised because he went under a different name in this tournament. So when I seen him come up to the table, I was actually taken quite aback. But yeah, decided to open with Mummy Curse and hopefully stuff the Phoenix wing. As you can see here, I go across the stadium and hopefully just wait for the Phoenix to come round. And as you'll see here, I get the literally perfect outcome. Phoenix comes down, deflection from the Curse, 2 points up. Game still not over yet, especially with a Shark mirror. I knew this would be, 50-50 matchup. And as you can see here, with Shark matchups, it's quite literally a toss-up, coin toss as to who wins. It doesn't matter how well you launch, I feel. Shark v Shark mirrors are really just 50-50.
3, 2, 1, go shoot.
Actually, I got a decent enough launch, big hits. But as you can see here, he had it on 760 rush, and my shot's on 360 low rush, and I just burnt so much stamina of those big hits, and he got a spin finish. So my third berry, Meteor Dragoon versus Wizard Rod 160 Hexa, and at this point I just knew I was very likely going to lose this matchup. Rod 160 Hexa is my training dummy, and I can tell you I was not confident in this matchup here. I tried to get him out of the stadium as best as possible, but once we got to about here, I knew that it was over. I started scraping, and yeah, I've seen this play out so many times in self-testing. I just knew this was going to be a spin finish. Rod 160 Hexa is just an ultimate counter to Meteor Dragoon. Unless you launch it hard enough to boom it up the stadium, you're going to lose by spin finish 9 times out of 10. So at this point, I would say this is where I ended up losing the game because I decided to open with Curse, anticipating that Rye would open with Shark. And unfortunately, he actually opened with Rod Hexa. So it was coming down to a spin game, and again, Curse versus Rod, I knew which direction this was going. I knew he was going to get the spin finish, most likely. So I tried to hard launch and try and get some big hits. Try to get the rail, get big hits against the Rod, but it did not work. Barely any contact in the game, and at this point I just knew that he was getting the spin. Painfully long watch, but again, it's just one of those things where, like I said in previous videos before, the reshuffle is incredibly key, and I got it all wrong in this match. I was hoping that he would open with the Shark, thinking he'd play more aggressive, but he went for a more passive opening, and that was a great counter to what I was doing, which was attempting to defend in the beginning and attack second. But yeah, that's just kind of how it goes in this game. Sometimes you're outsmarted, and that's what seems to have happened here. But Shark v Shark, again, 50-50. I was hoping this time around I'd get the better end of the stick. But actually on this launch, it was a mid-air. So I just had to redo that.
Sorry, Bob. Wait. Wouldn't go again.
So this time around, trying to learn from my other mistake, I tried to catch the rails quickly as possible, which I do. But as you can see here, just getting boomed out the stadium, losing my first game to Rye, and yeah, just how it goes. Not the best case scenario, but going into round 2, the tournament was only 5 rounds of Swiss, so I knew this was a match that I had to win. Going 0-2 in a 5-round Swiss is quite literally the worst thing that can happen to you. Almost guaranteed to not make top cut. So I had to absolutely win this.
Latest ready?
Set.
3, 2, 1. Go.
So I open up the Shark, get a burst finish against Tyranno Beat, which was on 963 ball, I believe. This time trying to undo the mistake of what I did in the previous match, open with Shark, defend. But my opponent had Shark on 960 bounce spike, which you'll see here, was an absolute problem. Shark scale is quite literally the attack rod. It's the best play in the game wholeheartedly. And bounce spike on Shark is something I've never seen before. It's my first time playing against it. I genuinely thought that Curse would win this by spin, but Shark's shape is amazing, and as you can see, it just tanks hits, staying upright. And again, I just, there's not much I could have done here, really. Got the spin, and yeah, just accepting my losses. Moving on to Bay number 3, Meteor versus Phoenix Wing. So I attempt to go for a harder launch here.
3, 2, 1. Go.
Got big hits in early in the game, and getting the extreme. His Phoenix catches the rail, and I get the extreme, winning 4-1, put myself up 1-1. Best case scenario. Unfortunately for me though, I had to play Solokal in round 3. Not ideal, far from it. The last thing I want to be doing is playing my teammate, but I always tend to be playing Solokal in do or die matches. And we were both 1-1 at this point. And in round 3 of a 5-round Swiss, you really don't want to lose this game. And it was painful, but you know, we knew the drill, no hard feelings, play our best and see what happens. So he opens up with Rod on Hexa, and opens the Shark, tried to go down the middle. He gets a really good launch on the rail, as you can see here. Catches life, almost goes out the pocket, stays in. Another big hit, catches the rail, stays in the stadium, almost puts me out. And yeah, get to this point, I know this is a Rod spin finish. He's got an incredibly tight 160, and he just stuffed those big hits. So Shark against Curse. Always an interesting matchup for me, but Curse was not my best performer at this point in the stadium. Tried to go across the stadium and avoid the worst of it, but he actually shrouded. So I didn't even notice it, but yeah, he had said immediately on launch that he shrouded, and it was overturned and overruled.
I do know what was your reaction. I couldn't figure out why you reacted like that. Yeah, 2 points. Yeah, I was like.
So the ref calls a shroud. This time I'm hoping for a better outcome, but I still go for the same game plan. I still attempt to go for the same game plan, going across the stadium and avoiding the extreme dash from Shark. And as you can see here, once again a great launch from Solokal. But this time Curse is hanging in there, tanking those hits. And again, this matchup is, you know, Curse is a great counter to Shark. It doesn't always win, but it has its days, and as you can see here, did well to stuff the hits and get myself a point, keeping myself in the game. But we had a Meteor mirror. I believe Solly's was on 760 level, whereas mine was on 770. This is really just coming down to a game of power, as they're both left spin. And as you can see here, start with a tilt. I'm quite worried at this point. He almost gets me out the stadium, but he burns a lot of stamina and I get a spin finish. So this time on reshuffle, Shark versus Rod Mirror again. This time around I'm hoping for a better result, and as you see here, it worked out in my favor this time around. I launch, again he goes round, he's reverse Xing, but he takes a big hit, goes right out the extreme. I win against my teammate. Bittersweet victory, couldn't celebrate this, but yeah, unfortunately that's just how it goes. Going into round 4, currently 2-1. If I can win this, I can almost guarantee myself a spot in top cut. It's incredibly tight this time when I look at the challenge leaderboard. But again, every match is so difficult. And as you'll see here, this match just did not go the way I expected.
Sorry, what's that combo again?
My opponent had blast heavy 960 jolt. I open with Meteor Dragoon, and as you can see here, I get good launch. Almost put him in the pocket and then just go flying out the extreme. Not happy about it, but it's just one of them things where there's nothing you could do. Move on to the next bay, keep your head in the game as much as possible. But Shark Mirror, I was incredibly worried here. But my opponent had Shark on low orb, so I tried to go and catch them behind. As you can see here, big hits, tanking it really well, almost getting 2 points, almost getting an extreme. And at this point, I'm a bit worried that I'm going to lose the stamina as my opponent's Shark is on low orb. But luckily for me, I get 1 point, although I could have left with more. It was better that I won that matchup. But as you can see here, I just knew I was cooked. Mummy Curse versus Rod 160 Hexar. I knew exactly where this was going. I tried to get big hits and hope that I can get the Rod to hit the rail. But unfortunately, as you can see here, that did not happen. And I was the one tussling and turning, Rod stable in the middle. Almost got it on the rail, not enough to pack a punch again over there, but yeah, again, painful watch. Rod 160 Hexo was the bane of my life in this tournament, and Curse just, I really couldn't do anything with Curse in this matchup. Against Shark, ideal, and other attackers, but against Rod, there's not much I could do here. And unfortunately, I lost this match and took Mummy out of the deck. 2-2 at the moment, needing a win to get into top cut. I took Mummy Curse out the deck and unfortunately decided to fight Fire with Fire using Rod 160 Hexo. But as you'll see here, this was a very difficult game. Again, needing a win, I decided to open up with Rod 160 Hexo, and it did not go as expected, unfortunately. As you'll see here, go for the launch, bounce, and it just pops. Horrible outcome. But again, it's one of those things where once it's happened, you move on and just keep your head in the game. I could have easily lost my head here, but I knew I could not afford to do that at this crucial point in the tournament. But this was the beginning of the comeback king. Down 2 points, Shark versus Meteor. A bit worried about this matchup, knowing that it can swing in Dragoon's favor. But I catch the one nice and cleanly. My opponent almost gets me out the stadium, almost goes out the pocket. And at this point, I'm a bit worried because I know that Meteor Dragoon can spin equalize against Shark. But I think Shark just took the sting out of it. And as you can see here, all that tilt in was able to get the spin finish. So Meteor Dragoon versus Rod 160 Hexter, and as you'll see here, absolute insane moment here. We had 3 cameras, myself, Judge, and my opponent's partner recording, and you'll just see this was an absolute insane moment. So, catch the rail, go, and just double finish at the exact same time, extreme and a pocket. The judge went to review it on all 3 cameras and we couldn't find the key frame as to which bay went out first. So after what was a very lengthy debate, the judge called for a reshoot. It can be very difficult to wait for a judge's decision because of the intensity of it all. So again, try to keep my head in the game mentally. Horrible matchup for myself as well. I'm down on points in a crucial part of the game. I go for the same type of launch, try to get the rail and get Rod out of the stadium. Unfortunately, I didn't, and once again, for what felt like the 100th time, I just knew the spin finish was coming. And this matchup is just so painful to watch. If you haven't gotten Rod out in the beginning with this bay, you are going to lose by spin finish. It's almost a guarantee that that's what's going to happen. It's just the full counter to Meteor Dragoon, and as you'll see, my opponent gets a point, and now I'm down 3-1 going into the reshuffle. Absolute crucial point. If I lose here, my chance of getting into top card is completely gone.
3-1 to me.
But as you'll see here, I just decide to lock in and pull off the comeback of comebacks. I decide to open with Shark Scale. A bit worried because the weight of Pegasus Blast can be an issue for Shark.
On shoot. 3, 2, 1, go shoot.
Almost getting an extreme finish in the beginning, almost getting a pocket. My opponent's blade jumps out. I almost go in a pocket, jump out. It was just a roller coaster of emotions, and after all those big hits, I leave with a spin finish. Not mad at it, not completely happy, knowing the game could have very well ended there. But again, we live and we learn. Rod 160 Hexa, worried after the fact that it burst immediately. But I'm going up against Meteor Dragoon. Knowing a good launch, I should be able to stuff it and win by spin finish at the very least. We get to about here, and I've just stopped the momentum of Meteor Dragoon. And again, having seen this play out for what feels like hundreds and hundreds of times, I was quite confident that I was going to get a spin finish, although it felt a lot closer. As you can see here, Rod tilting heavily, taking big hits, and at this point, I am not comfortable at all. I'm just clenching butt cheeks here, and I leave with a spin finish, just about making it 3-3, going into the reshuffle. Sorry, not reshuffle. I just copied my judge here. Going into my final bay, Meteor Dragoon versus Rod 160 XR. Horrible matchup once again. I'm just worried here, but I know I've got to hard launch the hell out of this to get a result. And as you'll see here, I do exactly that. Get a big hit, pocket the Rod, winning my match and securing my spot in top cut. Intense match, pulling off that comeback, and again what felt like a very tough tournament, because unfortunately for me I had to play Solokal again in top cut. Just not an easy day whatsoever in a single elimination, first to 4 top cut. I decided to open with Shark against Meteor. Again, Solly's got very, very good launches. This is a tough match. I almost go at extreme. My heart drops. But Shark doing clutch things, destabilizing Meteor Dragoon. And I end up getting the spin finish. This tournament was emotionally draining. I found it so difficult. Having to get through it mentally. Having to play my teammates in all these tough games. Shark versus Mummy Curse. I put Curse back into the deck, not believing in Rod Hexa. Mummy Curse back into the deck. I put on Trusty Combo 760 Wedge. But as you can see here, not the greatest omen in this launch because it was ruled a mid-air. which was unfortunate because Curse performed really well against Shark here, managing to stuff attacks. And yeah, again, these things tend to happen. Which is really annoying because Shark is an absolute monster, and you would hope that this was clean and you get your point. But yeah, these things happen. Unfortunately, ruled midair.
3, 2.
So go for the reverse X, get big hit, and just pops. He gets the burst. This time it's clean. I'm 2-1 down against Solokal, and once again fighting from a losing position. And I'm at this point, I'm just worried that my luck is beginning to run out. Again, bad matchup going up against Rod 160 Hexa again. But as you can see here, I pull off an absolute insane launch to win this match. Go straight for the rail, and Meteor just does that. Extreming Rod, and unfortunately, I knock out my teammate. Painful, but it happens. Having to play my teammate twice in one day was just not fun at all. So we go into round 2, and if I didn't explain it before, what happened with the turnout was it was a top 12 where the top 4 got a bye, and everybody else below them had to play an extra round. My opponent here finished in the top 4, so he was given a bye. And yeah, that's exactly how we ended up here. Again, at this point, after having beaten my teammate, I knew there was a lot of pressure on myself to make sure that it wasn't in vain and not for nothing. I wanted to make sure that I podiumed, not just for myself, but for my teammate. Having played him twice in one day and having beaten him twice in one day, I wanted to make sure that it amounted to something. So, I open up with Curse on Wedge against Pegasus Blast on Heavy, 960 kick. And one of the good things about Curse is it actually does very well in this matchup. Although Blast is a huge problem because of its weight, its rounded off shape doesn't seem to do all that much against Curse. Curse does very well to tank its hits, and it doesn't get weight bullied, surprisingly. Tanks hits well, and as you can see here, just stuffing the hell out of it. I get 1 point, and you know, exactly what you would want. But this here was just diabolical. I don't even want to say much, just watch what happens here.
Ladies ready? 3, 2, 1, go shoot!
Absolute insane moment. I thought I was getting that extreme, but my opponent's Silver Wolf, which was on 163 ball, I believe, just pocket jumps, and I'm just, again, I'm down 3-1. Once again, down on points, having to pull off the comeback. And yeah, I'd stay locked in. Slight tilt with the Meteor Dragoon against Shark.
3, 2, 1.
Get a good launch. My opponent's Shark is on 170 rush. Chaotic big hits, but I'm quite confident in this matchup because although we're at the same height, I've got more stability and his Shark is imbalanced. So once we're here, I'm actually chilling, quite happy for Meteor to be in this position, because although Shark is absolute monster, it can't really do much against basic physics. So I get the point, and we get to the reshuffle. You'll see this match was quite something. It had everything. It had pocket jump, and this was a lengthy think for myself because I was just panicking. I was a bit worried, especially with the extreme finish. I just felt as though there's a lot of pressure. But yeah, again, keeping myself mentally in the game, trying to stay as relaxed as possible. I decided to open up with Meteor Dragoon, and what happens here is absolutely insane. This Bey, which won 3 points through a freak extreme pocket jump. I launch, and at this point, I don't know if you can see it, but Meteor Dragoon is bit riding. As you can see, Rye, who's sat in the corner, notices it, and I bend down and I can see I'm bit riding, and at this point, I've just accepted that I've lost. And I literally go, I've lost. And then, at one point, it goes back in. And I'm not sure when, I think it's about here, but it actually goes back in, and somehow, miraculously, I end up getting the spin finish to keep myself in the game. I have no idea how this happened, but you can see there it's back in, but I promise you it was bit riding mid-match. I could not believe it. Brought it back from 3-3, and Shark Mirror 360 low rush against 170 rush. Having played, I believe I played this combo earlier against Rye. Again, knowing it's 50-50, decide to just launch with as much tech as possible.
3, 2, 1.
And again, just big hit there. Worried Shark doesn't catch the roll as cleanly as I want. But at this point here, I'm just hoping that I can just get it off balance as much as possible. Although I'm lower, it's not the best, because if I'm imbalanced, I'm going to touch the stadium quicker than he will. But here, get my point and pull off the comeback miraculously once again. But what a game. The extreme finish, pocket jump, which was crazy. Then my Meteor Dragoon pops mid-battle, goes right back in, I get spin finish. Again, such a taxing tournament. Comeback after comeback after comeback. But unfortunately for me, that would run out going into the next round against Wicked Soul, who is, I believe statistically, my hardest opponent. I have very, very rarely won against him. And shout out to him, because he actually ended up winning the tournament. But yeah, I knew once I was playing him, it was going to be a tough game.
Yeah, I might need to gauge my arm. I do not want to work you up. Yeah. Yeah, no, I've just that might be a problem. Yeah, no, you should be fine.
But yeah, Wicked Soul, very good blader. Plays very attack heavy. But for some weird reason, he is my boogeyman. You know, hate to admit it, but he is absolutely my boogeyman. I open up with Meteor Dragoon, he opens up with Cobalt Dragoon, and in this matchup, left v left, I have to pull much harder because I'm not going to spin steal off Cobalt Dragoon. So I go for a hard launch, and as you can see here, paid dividends here actually. Got good big hits, and I just catch it very nicely while on the rail, hitting it down, smash, getting my 2 points. And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, I am going to finally beat him. But unfortunately, he just has something that prevents me from winning against him. No idea what it is, but it is incredibly difficult to get over. Rod versus Shark. Judge thought mid-air. It actually wasn't, and as you can see, that beautiful deflection from Rod. And my opponent gets the 2 points. And I'm just like, here we go again, where I thought I'm doing well. And as you can see here, I absolutely butchered this launch. I was hoping to avoid Shark by going for a reverse X, but he full counters it by launching directly where I go and snipes my ratchet, beating me in the semi-finals. However, still within a chance to podium, although certain now that I'm not getting that air fryer. Podium is still up for grabs. A rematch against my opponent from round 4, who absolutely gave me a belt to ass match. looking for my revenge, and again, my teammate in attendance, I had to make sure that I won this match. To make sure that those 2 games that we played weren't for nothing. Open up with Meteor against Shark. This bay is just incredible. Meteor Dragoon was just my ace for this tournament.
Bladers ready. 3, 2, 1, go shoot.
Get a good launch, nice big hit against the Shark. With almost getting an extreme finish, almost getting a pocket there. And we get to a game of spin, but it's usually a 50-50. It can swing either way, really. And I do think it comes down to who gets the bigger hit first. Winning the spin finish. Close, but Shark ended up getting the spin just about. However, my opponent using Blast heavy on Elevate, interestingly enough. I come in with Shark and I just managed to pop it. Getting the 2 points. And yeah, exactly what I wanted. Hoping that I wouldn't go down any more points, but again, that Rod 160 Hexa, man, let me tell you something. I hate that combo. It is so hard to play against, my word. Gone are the days of Rod 960 ball. 160 Hexa is just ridiculously strong.
3, 2,
And again, I played this matchup multiple times in this tournament. I knew damn well that I wasn't very unlikely going to win it. Although I was under a different combo this time, I'm using 760 wedge. I just knew I was very unlikely going to get the spin finish. The only way I can win this is if I get big hits on it, but that rarely happens. And again, painfully watching, accept my fate that my opponent's going to get the spin finish and I'm going to have to claw. Well, not claw because we're tied on points, but yeah, just a difficult matchup overall.
You're making an hour of work just by buying something. Think about it. Think about it. Listen, if you're a broke boy and 20 pounds really
So we get to the reshuffle. I decide to open up with Meteor Dragoon, which I had full faith in throughout this tournament. It just performed so well.
Bladers ready. 3, 2,
But
1.
I get a good launch actually. Almost going out the extreme myself on 2 occasions. And again, with this matchup, it is a game of whoever gets that critical hit off first very likely wins the spin. And my opponent was on the better end of the stick. And as you can see here, Meteor Dragoon did not have enough in the tank. And once again, I lose by spin finish for the second time in this match. It was incredibly close.
So as long as it's direction, it's okay.
My opponent ended up getting it after long review. And at this point, my opponent is at match point. I'm down once again. I'm down on points. I do not remember a point in this tournament where, well, in Top Cut specifically, where I wasn't down on points and have to pull off the comeback. But I find myself in the exact same position again as I did the previous match, where I'm down on points, needing a result. And again, one of those things where when the judge has to make a decision on a close call, mentally I try not to dwell on it. But yeah, my judge gives the point to my opponent. It's 3-2. And luckily for me, I had Shark up against the bane of my life, 160 Hexa, and as you'll see here, the comeback king came alive.
Ready, guys. 3, 2, 1, go shoot.
getting the extreme finish, pulling off the comeback, finishing third once again at PinoyBladers. What a result, what a tournament. This was a difficult one. Shout out to PinoyBladers once again for hosting a great event. If you've made it this far, I just want to say a massive thank you because, you know, your support means a lot to me and it keeps me going, motivated, even when I'm sick. I still want to make these videos for you guys. But yeah, once again, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe down below. And until next time, peace.